Hi. I want to talk to you about scars. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, a scar is a mark left on the skin by the healing of injured tissue. So the key word there is healing. Scars can come in many forms, as you and I know. They can be physical scars, mental scars, emotional scars. You've heard that term, scarred for life. It's relative to the way you perceive it. So for example, physical scars. Okay, I have one here from my car accident in 2015, and I have a long one on the back of my neck. Also, if you can see it. I'll show pictures a little later. But it's showing that the skin is healing. It's no longer open, it's no longer bleeding, etc., etc. Emotional and mental scars can be a little deeper. So where am I going with this? I just want to tell you that there is hope. And God is always there for us, no matter what. When we feel the most alone, when we feel the most hurt, when we feel the most abandoned, Jesus is always there. I've been meaning to record something about my car accident in 2015. I just haven't found, I don't know what it is, something, it's always like stopping me or preventing me from getting to do it. I don't know if, I'm embarrassed to record myself because it is a little awkward. But I think more importantly is not to worry about how I feel about it, more to know that I've been wanting to get this message out there just to inspire hope in others, and others that might have gone through similar or are going through similar situations. So here's my story. I'll try to bring in clips of pictures of what happened to me in 2015. So we're in 2019 now, so it's taken me almost 4 years because we're about to approach May, and this happened May of 2015. Okay, so the beginning of that year started with, we had just come back in January and celebrating Christmas and New Year's with our family in Florida. And at the moment, we had just told them for Christmas that Victor and I my husband, we were expecting our first child. And while I was in Florida, I was about 10, 11 weeks along. When I came back for my follow-up appointment in January, I was about 12 weeks along, or so I thought. So I go into the doctor's office for routine sonogram, and the sonogram or the ultrasound tech looks at me and shakes her head no and says, not good. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So she tells me that my baby's heart is no longer beating and is no longer alive. So of course I'm hysterical because, this is not something that you expect to hear when you just told your family and you were celebrating. And that was the hardest thing that I think I've ever had to deal with in my life thus far. I couldn't stop crying. But I never did. I never once, surprisingly, I never did question the Lord. I thought I would be asking him, why me? Why my baby? Why now? Which are questions, normal questions that one would have. But I have to say that, I have to believe that baby was meant to be inside of me for the 12 weeks that baby was blessing me for whatever reason. But I felt life growing inside of me. And I have to believe that God needed my little angel up in heaven because he or she had served his purpose in my womb. And I'm grateful for that much. And I know that I'll see my little angel baby in heaven one day. Fast forward about a month or two, I don't remember the exact date, our Boston Terrier was continuing to get sicker and sicker, and we found out he had a specific type of cancer, lymphoma of the skin. His skin was just, how do I say, deteriorating, oozing, smelling. He didn't want to eat, he didn't want to move anymore, and he passed over the Rainbow Bridge shortly after. Another heartbreak. As you know, if you have a pet or know people who have pets, they become part of your family. This is all the while I'm finishing up my last semester in nursing school to become an RN at the local community college. So fast forward, come May, so excited. My mom comes down to be with me for my pinning ceremony in May, and in 2015 still. And we go out to dinner, we tell her the good news. Actually, yes, we tell her the good news that I was expecting again. Yes, I was pregnant again. We go out to eat at the Olive Garden. The next day they had a surprise graduation party, nursing graduation party for me. It was awesome. That was that Saturday. Let me see what date that was. I like to get exact dates. Look at my calendar. 2015. Sorry, please hold. 2015. Okay, so it was in May. Okay, so May 15th was the night we went out to celebrate. We went out to dinner at the Olive Garden, I remember. Saturday the 16th, they had the graduation party for me at home. I think my mom went home Monday the 18th, and then Tuesday the 19th I went back to work, and on my way home, it was a regular work day, beautiful day. I remember the sun was shining, it was nice and warm, like spring weather. Usual traffic going from the LIE in Melville to where I lived in Coram at the time. So, you know, I expected to be held up, especially around exit 53, you know, the Sagittos Parkway. It always backs up there. So it's going, then it backs up. So I'm prepared to stop. I stop because it's dead stop traffic. And I always leave like distance in front of me. So I had like 2 car distances in front of me, and just listening to my worship music, praising Jesus, you know, enjoying the weather on my way home. And I see, as we're all coming to a stop, you know, I look in my rearview mirror and I see a pickup truck coming really fast. He was coming too fast, and it was too close when he merged into the lane behind, that was right behind me, that I knew I was gonna get hit. You know, you look around, there's nowhere to go. HOV lane is packed, the lane in front of you is packed. I have 2 car distance ahead of me. There's a car next to me, there's cars everywhere. Where am I gonna go? So I didn't even have time to fully process it. I just knew that I'm gonna get hit. Okay, so I got hit. I don't remember getting hit because I was knocked unconscious. When I came to, I remember looking around, like, I feel like maybe I was a passenger and I was taking a nap from a car ride. But I'm like, I hear that we're on the highway, but like our car is not moving. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, I had no idea what was happening. And I hear like cop walkie-talkies to the left of me. And I guess they see me moving around. And I realize I was in an accident. So I'm doing my assessment, and now I'm moving my hands, and I'm moving my feet and my legs. And I'm like, all right, I can move everything except for my head. I could not move my head. I could slightly turn it, but I couldn't lift it. I couldn't move it at all. My head felt cold, so I went to feel it here, and I had blood on my hands, blood on my scalp, on my skull. So, you know, I start crying because I'm like, I don't know what just happened, you know, and it was scary because I was by myself. I wasn't by myself. I know God is always there. But to experience something like this and to not remember it, and to now I'm going in and out of consciousness, and the cops are telling me, you know, don't move, just the ambulance is on their way. So I get into the ambulance and they're asking me, who can we call? So I gave them my husband's phone number, and I remember going in and out of consciousness because I don't remember everything. I just remember bits and pieces. I remember crying, telling the EMT to tell my husband that I'm okay, I'm in an ambulance, make sure he knows where I'm going. Sorry. And she said he was going to meet me there. I can't imagine what was going through his head as my husband, hearing this news, knowing that at the time, don't forget, I'm about 7 or 8 weeks pregnant with my firstborn child. And so they're taking me to Southside Hospital. That's the closest one, we go. The first thing they do when I get there, they're getting my vitals. And again, I'm in and out of consciousness through this whole thing. I remember them stapling my head here. My skull had cracked open because I guess upon impact, the left side of my skull hit I don't know what it's called, but the side of the car. I remember asking them to do a sonogram, make sure the baby's okay. At that time, the baby was fine, heartbeat's fine, tiny little peanut inside of me, but, still in life, I have to make sure that my baby's okay. They take me at some point to do scans and CTs, and they take me to ICU. And again, I remember I was, in this collar, and it was so tight. I remember my face being squished up like this, and just being in and out of it, so tired. I never felt pain. Never once did I feel pain. I just kept going in and out of consciousness. I'm sure they took care of that with medication and shock or whatever that I was going through. I know the surgeon came in at some point and said, we have to emergently do a surgery. It's going to take about 7.5 to 8 hours. We're going to go in through the front and we're going to go in through the back. I had broken C5. So they had to repair that with some hardware and donor tissue. And they had to put in, that was through the front anteriorly, and through the back they had to put 2 titanium rods from C4 to C7. So when I get a chance, I'll put in a picture of the vertebrae there so you can see what that looks like. So on both sides I have 2 rods screwed into the back of my neck, and in the front I have a plate and donor tissue at C5. Again, while I was in the hospital, no pain. It was a long surgery. I remember going in to surgery, and because I just graduated nursing school and I haven't taken my boards yet at that time, I was telling them the definition of the Lovenox medication that they gave me, which is kind of a blood thinner so your blood doesn't clot. And I told them it was low molecular weight heparin. I remember saying that to them, and they're looking at me like, okay, good job, you're going into surgery now. I guess I was loopy from the medication, or I was just lightening the mood. I don't know, or just being me. I like to be positive and happy-go-lucky and fun and funny. So here we are. I'm about to go into this almost 8-hour surgery. I can't imagine, again, what my family's going through, what they're feeling. What my husband, my husband was like my rock. I love him so much. I thank God for him every day. I couldn't have asked for a better partner. So I get a surgery successfully, and I'm in the hospital for, I believe it was 5 or 6 days, maybe 5. I remember getting out, I think it was May 25th. Long recovery process. I was home for about 4 months. I want to say between the 4th and the 5th month, I went back to work. And at the time I was working an office job. I was a nurse recruiter for a healthcare company agency. I was there for about 12 and a half years. I loved that job. That was great. They really understood. They were like a family, very supportive. I can't tell you how many people came to see me at the hospital while I was in ICU, while I was in I think the recovery floor. At the time, I don't quite remember, what floor I was in, but I'm very grateful for every one of you that came to visit me. And I just know that, God had his hands on this whole process. I never really experienced pain per se. I mean, I think the years later, I had more pain than when I was actually going through it, as the tissues are still healing inside with the hardware. So I go home and the first week, I believe, my aunt was with me, my Aunt Gladys, I love you, my godmother, and she helped me to bathe, she helped me to dress, my husband as well, but he had to go to work, So, I had that, I had her help, thank God. My mom came to stay with me, I think it was for a month or two. I can't remember, but I wish she could have stayed longer. She was heaven sent as well. My mother-in-law stayed with me for some time. My dad stayed with me for about a week or maybe two. I'm just grateful for each and every one of them. They were my angels, alongside with my husband, helping me to recuperate, to do my day-to-day things, all the while, you know, growing this baby inside, you know, my little Jonah, who was in my womb, you know, while I was healing. So I went back to work, and it was only for a few months before I went on maternity leave. I went back to work, I think it was September, and I went on maternity leave December 28th, had my son December 20th. We had a C-section, healthy baby boy, totally unaffected by any, you know, I hate to think of these chemicals and medications that they put inside of me, and, you know, how it may have affected him or not. And worrying in the scans and all that, and thank God to this day he is a healthy 3-year-old boy. I love that kid. He's so funny, so full of life, so passionate, so active. He always has us running. So I'm just grateful to share my story. I want to share some pictures with you. To this day, I don't know what that driver was doing, that he thought that my lane maybe was a moving lane and dead stop traffic. I don't know if he was on his phone. I don't know if he was distracted. I believe it was a 21-year-old young man, no job, driving one of his parents' cars, trucks, I should say, and just simply wasn't paying attention. And it doesn't matter that he was 21. It could be any age, and you know that any age could be easily distracted by anything, by a cell phone, by thoughts, by a mood. I just did a defensive driving course online, and you know they talk about these things. You know, stress, tiredness, any one of these things, you know, can affect your ability to pay attention on the road. And so I urge you to just, you know, pay that extra attention when you're driving, especially when you know that there's traffic, stop and go, a lot of cars on the road, especially on the highway. Especially when you're nearing, you know, your local neighborhood. You know, it's not to be so lax to say, okay, I'm almost home, you know, home stretch, you know, I can relax. No, always stay alert, and always stay, like, you know, on alert when you're driving. You know, something like this can happen, may have happened to you, you know, whoever's watching. So the moral of my story is, you know, I do have some residual pain here and there, neck pain if I don't get enough rest, if I don't do enough stretching. My muscles are always a little sore. You know, it has gotten really bad at some points, you know, when I'm breastfeeding. I just had a baby girl. She's 2 months. She's actually 9 weeks this week. I'm so excited. She is a precious gem. So I have 2 beautiful babies. And sometimes it hurts when I'm breastfeeding, because, you know, you want to look down and bond with your baby, and, you know, look into their eyes, and as they look back at you, and just, you know, look at them in adoration. And, you know, I just want to give you hope. There's always something you can, you know, do for that. Pain is temporary. Soreness is temporary. You could do, you know, massages, medication, rest. But more importantly, I want you to seek your God, your Jesus Christ, that died on the cross for us, for our sins. He is always there when I've had nowhere to turn to, when I feel, you know, lost, when I feel overwhelmed with things that have happened and how I feel physically or emotionally. I just close my eyes and I ask my Lord God to help rid me of the negativity, the negative thoughts. Help me to push forward, and help me to be positive. Help me to be a light for others. And, you know, just to help me reach you. If this is a message that is meant for you to hear, this is me. I'm just being straight, open, and honest. I want to inspire hope. Know that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what you're going through. At the end of every valley is a mountaintop. You know, keep on pushing forward. If you don't have anyone to talk to Jesus. Seek someone who you can trust. You know, if you're a girl, search for a cousin, a mom, a sister, a close friend. You know, pick that person. Or if you're a guy, you know, do you have a dad, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, a coworker, somebody that you know you can trust and rely on, your pastor, you know, pick that person that you can trust and hold to and go to when you need to. And you know, when you feel alone, when you feel like you're at your lowest point, don't go through it alone, because you're not. Seek your God, seek your person, and know that there's hope. Inspire. I want to inspire hope in you guys. I'll try to follow this up with another video. There's so much more that, you know, I have inside that I want to say. I have to put it down on paper so I can be able to put it into words. But I'm grateful every day for my life. If it wasn't for God getting me through that accident, and I made it through that accident, I actually lived through that tragedy. It could have been a tragedy, I should say. I wouldn't be here today. I could have, you know, could have been so much worse. I could have not been here today and had these beautiful blessings that I have with my wonderful husband. So, you know, stay positive. You know, everybody has their ups and downs, their good days, their bad days. But we're here. We're alive. Let's be positive. Let's smile. Share your story. I encourage you to share your story too. You never know who it can help. All right. So God bless you guys. And I want to leave you with this scripture. Jeremiah 1:5 says, before you were born, I set you apart.